We are in Mount Hope Cemetery in Rochester, New York. Mount Hope Cemetery was started in 1838, and its over 350,000 permanent residents include many people important in the history of the United States. The two most well-known are Susan B. Anthony and Frederick Douglass, but many others contributed to building our country. We are looking at the Porter family plot in Section G. They were a white family dedicated to abolishing slavery. They were good friends with Frederick Douglass, who lived in Rochester and published his anti-slavery newspaper here. Frederick was born in slavery, escaped, and eventually gained his freedom. He was also the head of the Underground Railroad in the Rochester area. The older couple here is Samuel and Isabella Porter. Their house was a stop on the Underground Railroad, and Samuel often helped Frederick Douglass escort the fugitive slaves to a boat that would take them to Canada and freedom. They usually met the boat at Kelsey's Landing, which was a place on the Genesee River, roughly opposite where the Maplewood Rose Garden is now. And Samuel was also the first president of the Western New York Anti-Slavery Society. Samuel and Isabella's son, Samuel D. Porter, was also active in the fight against slavery. He was a bookseller and publisher. He hid escaped slaves in a barn behind his house on South Fitzhugh Street. A close personal friend of Frederick Douglass, Samuel was the first secretary of the Western New York Anti-Slavery Society. And as a candidate for mayor of Rochester, he persuaded the Rochester School District to integrate city schools in 1857. Samuel's wife, Susan Farley Porter, was the first president of the Rochester Ladies Anti-Slavery Society. This group raised lots of money for the cause by holding bazaars, publishing books, and obtaining donations. Some of the money went to provide food, clothing, boat fare to Canada, and cash to fugitives escaping slavery. Some of the money went to support Frederick Douglass's newspaper, and some of the money supported a school for freedmen in Kansas. Samuel D. and Susan's son, another Samuel, was a soldier in the Civil War who was wounded several times. He wrote many letters home, which are included in the Porter family papers in the U of R library. Samuel is buried with his wife in Section R of this cemetery. Maria Porter was the daughter of Samuel and Isabella and the sister of Samuel D. Porter. Maria owned two boarding houses, one on Plymouth Avenue and one on Main Street West. These were places where gentlemen could rent a room and also get meals. University professors and other prominent men boarded at Maria's establishments. Maria was the first treasurer of the Rochester Ladies Anti-Slavery Society. She had escaped slaves in her boarding houses, at times 10 to 12 at the same time. She hid more escaped slaves than anybody else in Rochester except the Post family. Harriet Tubman, the famous conductor on the Underground Railroad, personally led escapees to Maria's houses. An article in the Rochester newspaper reports that shortly before Maria died in 1896, at age 91, Harriet Tubman came for one last visit. One final fact makes this family plot especially important. In 1860, shortly before the Civil War, Frederick Douglass's youngest child, Annie, died at the age of 10. Annie was the only Douglass child actually born in Rochester. Cemetery records say the death was due to congestion of the brain. Frederick was in England at the time on a lecture tour. Mrs. Douglass didn't know what to do. The Douglass family didn't own a cemetery plot. Why would they? They were a young family not thinking of death. Annie was temporarily buried in this Porter family plot, which shows the solid friendship between the two families. After Frederick returned from England, he bought the Douglass family plot where he himself was later buried, and Annie was reinterred there. The Porter family is a good representation of all of the people who fought against the evil of slavery. We are proud to have had them living in our area, and we honor their memory.